Hello everybody and welcome back to another match preview video on the channel. This Saturday AFC Wimbledon are finally back to league action at Plough Lane after we all know what happened. The pitch got ruined, the river wandle burst, and then it all just went to, I'm not going to swear, it just went to mayhem. We've had two games called off, Accrington and Crewe, but we're finally back as Wimbledon host League 2 strugglers Carlisle United in League 2, and both teams are looking to win the game for very different reasons. We're looking to push the playoffs, and Carlisle United are looking to push further away from those relegation spots, as they haven't been doing so far in the season. But in today's video, we're going to go through everything from the two sides, who I think will win, and what we can expect from Carlisle and Wimbledon, as we've been on OK form and Carlisle have not won in quite a while. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. On the road to 2,000 subscribers. So yeah, furthermore, let's get into this video. So just before we get into talking about both squads, as I said in the previous video, there won't be any matchday vlogs, but there'll be more content like this, me talking in front of a screen, better editing, and giving thoughts on what I think will happen in games, in topics and everything like that. So there will be a switch up in content if anyone missed the video which I put out yesterday. But let's get into this video. As I said, this Saturday the Dons finally return to action in League 2 at home against Carlisle United, after the river wandle burst and the pitch went to absolute shreds. We had two home games called off, Accrington and Crewe. Really disappointing, as the Dons were we were obviously probably the favourites to win those both two games, would have pushed us into the playoffs. I think if the three games that we have in hand, Tranmere, Crewe and Accrington, if we win all those three games, you would be top of the league, clear by 3 points. And the momentum which we were going into those games, we were really good, coming off the back of drawing 0-0 with Bradford, beating MK 3-0 at home. So especially at home, with fans backing our sold out crowds, it would have been excellent. But unfortunately, there was an incident which we couldn't do anything about. But the pitch is now back in pristine condition, so the Dons will host Carlisle on Saturday. Going into this massive clash on the weekend for both sides, AFC Wimbledon currently sit 13th in League 2, but we do have obviously 3 games in hand. So if you win those 3 games in hand, eventually, if all things go well and we don't drop off form and start losing our games, which are scheduled to be playing since the start of the season, then we will be in and around the top 3 or the top 7 if we do draw one of those games. But yeah, AFC Wimbledon played 7, won 4, drew 1, and lost 2 of our games to Bromley and Salford. 2 games which we probably should have won. Maybe the Salford game, maybe not Bromley. But Carlisle, on the other hand, they sit 22nd in League 2, 1 point off the relegation zone. So they're looking to switch things up and finally find a bit of form to get away from that relegation spots. That is where they totally don't want to be. But yeah, Carlisle, although they have played 10 games, with only seeing them win 2 of those games, drawing 1 and losing 7, and their only away win has come away to Swindon Town, beating them 1-0. But now let's move on to talking about the home side, AFC Wimbledon. The Dons come into this game in decent form. A lot of the Dons fans are probably more confident going into this game after seeing us beat Crawley Town 4-3, a last minute winner by Joe Pigott, and then other goals from Callum Maycock, James Tilley and Matthew Stevens. It's good to see that the strikers are getting into the thick of the action now, back to scoring goals, because I was a little bit worried in that type of sense, just because our strikers haven't scored too many goals, and we have the likes of, as for example, MK, we had Callum Maycock come up with 2 and Miles Hippolyte. Yes, it's good to see other positions, midfielders scoring goals, but you want to see our strikers in fine form, as the 4 strikers that we do have are simply incredible. Really good at this level, and we know if they do find their form, they will be absolutely amazing. But yeah, that gives probably Wimbledon fans more confidence to coming into this game against Carlisle. In the last 5 games, in all competitions, we have seen the Dons demolish Milton Keynes 3-0 at home. Goals from Miles Hippolyte and Callum Maycock. What a day it was. Don't need to explain that one too much, as it was one of the best days Wimbledon have seen back at Plough Lane. And that was the last outing at Plough Lane before the pitch got demolished in one corner. Following this was a 0-0 draw away at Bradford City, which I think maybe we should have gone out and won. Matthew Stevens had a goal which was very close from not being offside. Joe Pigott hit the bar in the second half, So I think we definitely deserve more than a draw. We always have bad luck going up north to away games and trying to drag out results. Obviously, the two so far has been 0-0 draw at Bradford, 1-0 loss to Salford. We'll get onto that in a minute. Then Wimbledon had two consecutive away games after the disappointment of Accrington and Crewe getting called off. We had Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, and obviously we lost 1-0. Can't really say too much about that. And then a 1-0 defeat to Salford in League Two, which was a very, very disappointing result. I thought we maybe deserved a draw. They were physical. They injured Joe Lewis, which should have been easily a red card. I think most Wimbledon fans know that. We've seen the footage. He went absolutely flying into Joe Lewis. So that's disappointment. We'll get onto that in a minute, as Joe Lewis is set to be out to 3 to 4 weeks. In the most recent games of AFC Wimbledon, we've seen us beat League One strugglers Crawley Town 4-3 in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. That is some handful to say, isn't it? On last Tuesday night. Good to see us getting another win, and good to see us scoring goals, because in the last 3 games in the league, in all competitions, against Newcastle, Bradford and Salford away from home, we haven't scored a goal. So it's good to see that we're chipping up with 4 goals, and we could see the lineup shuffle a little bit just because of players that are in a little bit of form. Now, what should we expect from AFC Wimbledon coming into this game? We'll be looking to respond positively after a disappointing loss to Salford away last Saturday. It's a big chance to get close to those playoffs with games in hand. We need to try and be in touching distance because we have a massive opportunity when other teams have been when other teams are higher up in the table, playing 3-4 more games than us. We have a massive chance to overtake them and kind of upset them a little bit when we do eventually get back to the same games played than everyone else. The players should be up for it, full of energy, full of motivation, because we're back at Plough Lane. It's a sold-out crowd. I believe we have 2 blocks sold out in the away end as well. So we're going to be shooting both towards home fans, which is another positive thing to take into Saturday. The only negatives that we can probably take into this game is the fact that Joe Lewis will be injured, and we do have a little bit of a defensive injury crisis at the moment. Every time I did Don's TV pre-match, we always say that the strength and depth in the squad is really good, and now we can go back to saying we have a defensive injury crisis, just like we did last season at the back end of that season, when we had the likes of Ryan Johnson, Joe Lewis out, so we had to play Lee Brown, John Joe O'Toole and Isaac Ogden there at the back. But it'll be a massive blow for our defence, which has been so positive when we have Joe Lewis, Ryan Johnson and Riley Harbottle as the back 3. It's just a defence which is very, very tough to break down. But you can see the likes of Ogden come in, maybe Furlong come back into a back 3 on that left-hand side. We saw James Ball come into centre-back. We're not so sure if Ryan Johnson will be back. Haven't really heard much from him. He obviously came off a couple of weeks back. It's nearly been a month, I believe. So possibly we could see him back. He wasn't in the squad against Crawley or Salford. So we will see then. Obviously, Joe Lewis is out for 3 to 4 weeks, which is a massive, massive setback for Wimbledon. But we do have decent players that can still play at the back. Furlong can go back into that left centre-back position as he did against Crawley and played pretty well. Ogdendair's had good performances. You could put Biller in there. You could put Ball, which has impressed. And then other than that, John Joe O'Toole might come in after coming back from injury a couple of weeks ago. So we will see if he gets moved into the squad. So there is still changes which can be made which are positive, and we should still be able to have a decent game. Just hopefully we don't leak too many goals if we do have to shuffle the pack at the back. So we've talked about AFC Wimbledon positives and negatives going into this game. So now let's move on to talking about the away side, Carlisle United. So now moving on to the away side, Carlisle United. Obviously they've only won 2 games so far this season, drew 1 and lost 7. Disappointment, because they have got players which can hurt us, and we will get onto that in a minute. But at the moment, Carlisle United sits 1 point off from the relegation zone in 22nd place so far in League 2 after 10 games. They sit in a very difficult position in the table, and travelling to a side, AFC Wimbledon, who is unbeaten at home, is probably one of the last things that they want to do. Away from home, Carlisle United have only won once, which was a 1-0 win over Swindon Town. So Swindon will be very disappointed in that. But in my opinion, I don't think we should really be writing off the away side. They have got good players. They Probably another talking point we should get onto, and we will get onto that now, is Mike Williamson, the former MK manager that got sacked after AFC Wimbledon did demolish them 3-0 at Plough Lane about a month ago. So now he's joined Carlisle United. I think his style of play wasn't that good. It was slow coming out from the back, and so far he hasn't won a game under Carlisle United. So he'll be looking to kind of go back to Wimbledon, get a little bit of revenge, but hopefully we can do the double over Mike Williamson and push us further up the table. But I'm not too sure how their style of play Carlisle is. They have Terrell Thomas as well, which I believe I saw an article that he will be missing for this game, which is interesting. But the likes of players that they actually, Carlisle did have a pretty successful summer transfer window, and we will get onto the players that they brought in. But it's interesting because they signed very well. They sold players who were probably out of their depth and they dropped down the league. So they have signed well. It's just maybe that they haven't found their form yet. They haven't found the style of, they haven't found the tactics that they want to play. They haven't found the style of football that they want to play. So that might change literally in any sort of game from now. But they'll be looking to come down to Wimbledon as a long old journey and shuffle the pack and try and find a bit of form. So let's talk about some of the players that Carlisle United have. The likes of Charlie Wyke, who we know has had a very successful career, played for Sunderland. He's actually had a successful loan spell at Wimbledon about 10 or 15 years ago. But we know how good Charlie Wyke can be if he does find a little bit of form. So, which he may be past his best, but can still put on a show and score some very good goals. He can score from anywhere. When he played for Sunderland, scores goals from outside the box, penalty areas. He's not afraid of heading the ball into the back of the net from crosses. He's not afraid to put his head where a lot of players don't want to. So he's strong and physical in that sort of sense. And if he shows up, if he turns up, then I think, who knows, it could be dangerous, especially because Wimbledon haven't got the best defensive options at the moment. Two other attackers that could be a threat to Wimbledon is Luke Armstrong, who is also a target man for Carlisle, a striker who has had pretty impressive seasons with Harrogate in the past. We know he's strong, physical up front, scored against Wimbledon before. So I think, again, if they can just find their form, find the style of football they want to play, tactically play well, then I think they can hurt Wimbledon on Saturday. So he shouldn't be writing them off. I think Wimbledon fans shouldn't be going too confident into this game. Another attacking player, Cameron Harper, the left winger, who they signed from Inverness, Caledonian, I believe it was. I might have got that wrong, but I have a photo of him which I'll put up now with his former club. So Cameron Harper, the left winger for the away side, kind of seems like the playmaker, the player which you want to get it to create stuff. As he already has 3 assists this season for Carlisle United. So they do have the players to hurt us, but it just will be interesting to see how they play, as the position in the league table kind of doesn't reflect the players which they do have, to be honest with you. But what do I think will happen in this game? Well, Wimbledon should be the favourites to win this game on the weekend due to their fine form over the start of the campaign. Only lost two games which have been away from home, and we are still unbeaten at home. So we'll be looking to continue that form. If the players show the same amount of resilience and putting in 110%, which they have done every single home game, then I do not see why not Wimbledon can go out and get a comfortable win for this game. I'd love to see us just go and smash a team 3-0, 3-1, like we did against MK. Just be comfortable, keep the ball. Hopefully Jake Reeves is fit as well, as he did come off for the last 10 minutes against Salford on last Saturday and wasn't involved against Crawley. So I'm sure we'll know a lot more when Johnny Jackson does his interview, hopefully today or tomorrow. Let's move on to the final bits of the video. Lineup prediction. It's tough. It's tough at the back. I think Goodman will obviously start. You'll have Ogundare in the back 3. I've put Johnson down if fit, but then I'm not too sure who will kind of replace. It could be Ball, it could be John Joe O'Toole. Maybe Furlong will come back on that left-hand side due to Lewis being out. So we do have to shuffle the pack at the back a little bit. I think Tilly will start. Maybe I don't think that's the right decision, but as you have Furlong dropping back into the defensive area, then you might have Tilly on that side. You have Smith. I want a 3-4-1-2. Smith and Reeves in the middle and Newville on the right-hand side. I want Maycock in the 10. He's impressed me. Scored 2 against MK, scored against Crawley. He's that player which you want to get in the 10 and just drive forward. We know how good his passing is in behind. We know how good his shooting is. And then Bugle and Stevens up front, who have always impressed so far this season. My score prediction, I'm going to go with AFC Wimbledon 3, Carlisle United 1. With goal scorers, Omar Bugle will get 2, never scores away from home. He's only scored 1 away from home, and that was Harrogate. So he only scores goals at home. So I'm going to go 2 for Bugle and 1 for Jake Reeves. Why not him get another goal? Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on what you think will happen on Saturday in our game, a League Two clash against Carlisle United. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know down in the comments how you think I should improve these videos. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll be getting away fans on these videos to give a different type of insight, and I'm sure they'll know a lot more information than I do about the other teams that we're playing. But yeah, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on what you think will happen. Give me your score predictions and goal scorers, and yeah, see you on Saturday. Thank you for watching. Come on, you dons.